This video is brought to you by America First Insight. Help support the growing conservative movement by becoming a member today. And if you want to support this channel, you can also use the code REAL when becoming a member. Thank you and enjoy the video. As everyone probably knows, the Commonwealth of Virginia has critical elections coming up next month. And let's be clear about one thing. I still think at the end of the day, Democrats are the favorites for the governorship and the lieutenant governorship. I think both those races right now, Democrats, they might underperform expectations, but I think at the end of the day, they still are the favorites. But at the same time, it's looking less and less likely that this is going to be a massive Democrat win. And in fact, there is a non-zero chance now that Democrats, they could potentially lose Virginia, which I know a month ago would have sounded absolutely crazy, but a lot of stuff has happened the last couple of weeks, and now we have a brand new poll from Trafalgar, which I know Trafalgar is one of those pollsters that they have a very unique track record, because on one hand, they can be spot on. If they say a race is going to be D+2 or R+2 or whatever, there's a good chance that they are spot on. But at the same time, they do have major misses. That's Trafalgar. It's kind of like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. You don't know what you're going to get. Either a poll that's spot on, or you're going to be off by 10, 15 points. That's Trafalgar, but usually they are a good pollster. And, well, look at this. They polled the 3 statewide races, and Democrats, they're barely winning 2 of them, and they're getting absolutely killed in the attorney general race for obvious reasons. Like, look at this. Spanberger for governor, yeah, she's winning, but by like 2.5%. She's currently at 47.7%. That's it. She's not a 51. She's not a 52. She is barely below 48%. Winsome Sears, she's at 45%. So she is within the margin of error against Spanberger. Lieutenant Governor, same deal. The Democrat candidate, he's at 47. John Reed, he's at 46. And finally, for the AG race, Jay Jones is down by 6%. And it looks like Jason Miraz, which I know there's still a chance Jay Jones could win, it looks like he's going to hold on, which, good. He is by far the strongest candidate on the ticket for the GOP, and in my opinion, the best by far. I mean, he's far better than John Reed and Winsome Sears. And it seems like right now, there is a good chance that he does beat Jay Jones, and for good reason. I mean, guys, for those that live under a rock, Jay Jones had a horrific scandal break. It was bad, and I've shown this many times in video, but basically, he texted some horrific stuff to a Republican colleague a couple years ago, where he was basically saying that he wants to shoot his political opponents, and he was hoping that their families would die so they change their political views. It's like, wait, what? Dude, really? You're gonna say that about a generic Republican? Screw that. Anybody, because of difference of opinion for something related to gun control, really? That's who we're dealing with here. And ever since then, Jay Jones has clearly sunk by a bunch. I mean, Trafalgar a couple weeks ago, they actually had Jay Jones up by 3, or I should say 4%. Now, he's down by 6. Now, Jay Jones, he's barely cracking 43%, and Miraz at 49%. Though it should be more lopsided. I mean, the stuff that he said, and I know I hate to play this game, but if this was a Republican that said this, that Republican would be pulling at like 25%. If this was like North Carolina, yeah, North Carolina, just a year ago, Mark Robinson had a stupid scandal, but it wasn't, the worst thing in the world. He got killed by 15. But now, Jay Jones had, objectively, one of the most horrific scandals we've seen in a long time, and there's still a serious chance he could win. That should tell you everything about the Democrat Party. The Democrats, they're all still backing Jay Jones, but it does seem like at the bare minimum, this scandal is really hurting Jay Jones. And not just Jay Jones, but really the entire ticket. Because a couple weeks ago, Winsome Sears was down by 5, John Reed down by 4, and it's clear they have gone up. Spanberger stayed basically flat, while Sears, she went up by roughly 3%, 3-4% in just a couple of weeks. And this was pre-scandal. She was down by 5 post-scandal, and then post-debate, she's down by like 2. Again, I'm not saying that Winsome Sears are going to win. No one should be expecting that because a lot can happen. We don't really know what's going to happen the next couple of weeks. But it does seem like at the bare minimum, this scandal is going to really hurt Dems. Up and down the ballot, it's going to hurt them. Because the response by Democrats to this scandal has been so pathetic that you could argue it's even more damaging than the actual messages, which I know that sounds crazy, but guys, not a single noteworthy Democrat anywhere has condemned what Jay Jones said. In fact, you have some Democrat officials in Virginia actually saying, we support Jay Jones even more. We're going to actively work to get him elected because Orange Man bad. And that's real, which is just insane. Like, seriously, these people are so deranged that they can't even condemn this. They cannot condemn political violence. We're to that point now. And listen, people don't like the Republican Party for obvious reasons, but the longer Democrats wait before they actually condemn this guy, which they're not going to, the more insane they look to the average voter, even in Virginia. Because yeah, they may not like the GOP, they think they're incompetent, they think they suck, but Democrats, they're not saying a word about this. In fact, some of them are just like backing Jay Jones even more. And it's sinking the rest of the ticket, and they're just refusing to condemn this. It's like, why? You gain nothing from this. All you're doing is hurting yourself even more. And Democrats like Spanberger, they're not helping themselves at all. Because a couple days ago, there was a debate between Sears and Spanberger, and let's be clear about this. If you just watch the entire debate, nobody won. It was pathetic. It was terrible. Like, both sides, they lost the debate. But there was one part in particular that everybody's talking about, and it was such a bad position. It was such a bad moment for Spanberger that if she loses this election, it's because of this. Now, I'm not going to show the clip here because it's kind of long and whatever, but basically, it was during the debate a couple nights ago, and if I'm being honest, that debate was terrible. It was pathetic. It's one of those things that most people are going to forget about it anyways, but it was bad. Like, nobody won, in my opinion. But there's one part that was such a disaster for Spanberger that if she loses, it's because of this. Now, Winsome Sears, her best part of the debate came when she asked Spanberger, hey, what, are you going to condemn Jay Jones? When are you going to condemn this guy? What will it take for you to say something? And Spanberger, she did not give a single answer. Just look at this. She just stood there like smirking, like, oh, there's nothing wrong here, ignoring Sears, writing stuff down, and Sears kept going on, and like, she brought up good points, like, hey, we're talking about murder, we're talking about somebody saying he wants to kill somebody, and you can't condemn that? Like, look at this. It's like a minute long, and she said nothing. He just ignored it completely. And like, she's smirking about it like, oh, it's so funny. Really? That's your response. And the Sears campaign, they're going to run on this. They're going to run on this single clip for the rest of the campaign. And they're going to say, see, this is what Democrats stand for. They stand for political violence. They stand for the insanity. And they cannot condemn murder. We're to that point now. They can't even condemn murder. Now it makes sense why Trafalgar, they're finding Democrats sinking. Again, I still think Democrats are the favorites, but right now, if you're the Democrat Party, you're sweating a little bit like, holy crap, we might lose. I'm not saying it's a guarantee or whatever, but it's a possibility they could actually lose, right? Now, people might be saying, well, this is Trafalgar, they're a bad pollster. Again, I know they have a very bizarre track record. They're either spot on or they make major mistakes. I get that. But back in 2021 for the Virginia governorship, their final poll had Youngkin up by 2.5%, 2.3%, okay? Back in 2021, he won by 2. So they were spot on. That's well within the margin of error. That's statistical noise. That's nothing. They ended up winning by 2.5. He won by 2. And a poll from a couple weeks prior, they had Youngkin up by a point. So again, in 2021, they showed Youngkin surging at the end. which that's obviously what happened. And they had Youngkin winning by 2.5% at the end, and he won by 2. So, Trafalgar has a good track record. They have a good track record most of the time. Some of their misses, though, they can be bad. That's what I said. They're either spot on, they're within like a point, or they're off by 20. But more than likely, what do you think's going to happen? That they're going to be off by 20 for this race? I don't think so. Hell, even Jay Jones, his own campaign, just a couple days after the scandal broke, they released a bullshit internal from Hart Research, and they found about up by only 1. Yeah, up by only 1. So, their own push poll. These polls should have you up by 10 points or whatever, it's a big margin. They couldn't get him up by even 1. They got him up by 1%, that's it. And there's other polls dropping where it's like he's sinking by the day. A lot of people are beginning to realize, oh, this race might be over. More than likely, Trafalgar's right here, at least for the AG race. Like, I'm not saying to be R+5, but there's a good chance that Meares does win. Maybe not by 6 or whatever. He should win by like 50. But if I had to guess right now, this poll is probably close to reality. Maybe off by a couple points here, a couple points there. But really, I don't see there being a massive miss in this poll. I just don't see it at all. So a lot could happen the next month. We don't really know how bad the scandal gets because there allegedly some even worse stuff related to Spanberger and Jay Jones. We don't know for sure. It might get even worse. And Republicans, they're going to run on nothing but these messages. That's all they're going to run on. And the more people hear about them, the more upset they get with Dems. That they can't even condemn the most basic of things. That's making it worse for them. If they would have condemned this right away, yes, they would have lost the AG race more than likely, but you would still be up by a good margin for everything else. You lose AG, okay, whoop-de-doo. You won the governorship. You won the House delegates or whatever. Now there's a chance that, oh, if things go south even further, you could be losing in a year that you should be winning Virginia by like 20 points, 15 points. It's supposed to be a blue wave. Yet there's a chance you might lose? And not just a 1% chance. Right now, Sears, if I had to guess, she probably has a decent chance of winning, compared to especially just a couple weeks ago. A couple weeks ago, I was saying she had like a 1% chance, if that. Now it's like, maybe she has like a 10% chance of winning. Still very unlikely, but we're getting to a point where there is a serious possibility that Democrats could suffer a much bigger defeat across the board than we expect, because they couldn't even condemn political violence, which should tell you everything about this party. They're so insane, they can't even condemn that. If they, like, imagine Jay Jones or AG. Like, seriously, imagine somebody like that. If Jay Jones wins, not only is that bad for Virginia, all it does is give credibility to the lunacy that, oh, we can be batshit crazy and still win. We can still win no matter what because Orange Man bad. And if that's the case, that's not good. That is not good whatsoever. Anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, and of course, join the channel today. Godspeed to all of you.